Pre-showing it. I probably could have made it to the weekly pull episode yesterday, but I woke up late in the day and Benny's like, yeah, Joel's probably tired and wants the day off. I'm like, well, as you gave me the option, so okay.
I'll take it.
I will take it, sir.
Yeah. Ah, can't believe we're back. We're doing this thing again.
I know, right? Got to get back in the groove.
Yeah. I'm telling you, man, like, when you do a show like New York Comic Con, it's like, especially when it goes like 4 days, you're kind of like, oh, like, this is kind of life.
Yeah, it is. It's a way of life. I know when I came home, it was the weirdest thing because, like I said, I woke up late in the day and I'm like, I should go outside and get some food. Then I'm like, fuck, I'm not in New York anymore. There's no breakfast downstairs and there's no like 4 eateries from all over the world that I can go to.
Yeah, exactly. It's not right around the corner. It's not open all night.
There's no hot dog stands.
No.
I gotta go to the store and then come back and make my food now.
Yeah.
The hell's up with that? Because that's what blows me away about New York. Food was always in arm's reach. No matter where you went, there was always food.
Yeah, whatever you wanted, boom, it was right there. It was great.
It was quite the thing.
It's a great experience. Like for me, I'm used to it because I'm in Jersey, so it's like while I can't just like wander into an eatery, it's easily available. But yeah, New York is interesting. It's great that like. Because it's a whole bunch of different I don't experience this normally, which is like the 4-day con experience of like living in that world and going every day and spending most of your day surrounded by your favorite shit and people who all like that same thing. Plus being in New York, which neither of us has like I have familiarity with, but I don't live there, so like you said, like you never really go to bed. Like it's always like there's always something going on, or there's always like a place you can stop in at that's really cool.
To me, it was a goddamn other planet.
Yeah, it's a totally different experience, and it's that's why after every con I go to, out of every con I go to, New York is always like the one that I have the hardest to acclimate from, because I'm just like I was living in a whole day. It's like literally like it's like coming back from a long vacation, but it was only like 4 days, and I didn't have a vacation at all. I worked all the entire time.
I know, right? This has probably had been one of the weirdest con experiences for me because I didn't get to do nor see half of what I wanted to do because I was busy being a thing that people were coming to see.
Exactly. Yeah. I wasn't even able to be. Like I had to focus creative energy in other places.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't be creative about like, all right, what video should I make next? What should we talk about on the channel? Like, no, I'm making videos all about that right now. Like,
I'm glad you kicked me in the ass and told me to visit Artist Alley before I left.
Yeah, I mean, literally, I didn't get to go at all this year, but I'm glad you did because it mattered. Because it's like it's a place you gotta go, especially given. Your experience in Artist Alley, and it's like, wow, these are titans in the industry, and they're just sitting right there. I have
just
exclusive
hanging
access.
Out, yeah.
Like Marguerite Bennett, of course, being a writer, she has nothing at her booth. It's just her and like a couple of cards. I don't know if that was the case this year, but it was last year.
It kind of was, but still, lovely, lovely woman.
Yeah, but you just walk up to her and you're like, hey, you're Marguerite Bennett.
Yeah.
You're incredibly talented.
She has a filthy mouth on her. She would fit in right here at the Elseworld Exchange,
oh, no
I
question.
tell you what.
No, yeah. Listen,
she feels like a lost member of one of our shows.
Seriously. Anytime she wants to come on, of course, Marguerite Bennett is welcome any and every day. Literally. We could
talk about Batwoman there.
Right? We could have a Jawen situation. She just pops in every month.
Oh, that would be amazing.
But, all right, let's...
she walks with a cane. She had a whole tweet there being... I guess some people gave her a hard time about the cane, being like, oh, is that like some hipster fashion statement you're doing there? No, I walk with a cane. I'm disabled, you asshole.
I never knew that, but I've only seen her in photos and sitting down.
Exactly. That's my thing, too.
Yeah, that's interesting. All right, well, let's kick the tires and light the fires and start this episode of the Elseworlds Exchange.
Hells yeah.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Elseworlds Exchange. I'm Sal, this is Cape Joel, and we're going to be talking about the worst movie sequels of all time here on the Elseworlds Exchange. Welcome back, Joel. Of course, it feels like you've never left. I've literally spent 4 days with you, man.
It's true. We spent 4 days, just like this, me joined at your hip, of which I thank you for allowing me to mollusk onto you.
Oh, I'm glad you were able to, man, because it's a big open world out there, especially when it's con season in New York City. You need to grab onto somebody who knows where the hell to go. Thankfully, we were intelligent enough to position ourselves so that we didn't need to navigate subways or mass transit to get where we were going.
Oh, yes, that was very lucky. I feel bad for our friend Caitlin, who got an Airbnb like an hour away and had to like take the ferry in every day.
I mean, it's enchanting. I love the ferry, but at the same time, like, yeah, I know she was late to a lot of things as a result of it. So I
Especially that day where it just pissed rain nonstop.
that was the last day. Sunday was just rain all day.
Thank you, residual effects of that hurricane everyone was talking about.
But I will say, like halfway through the day, went away, and it was a gorgeous day afterwards.
Yeah, and we have Periscope proof of this. You Periscoped us walking back there.
That's right. That was
a really nice day.
Yeah, I wanted to really like capture a fly on the wall, like ride along kind of experience, so I decided to do that. But yeah, today we're going to be talking about the worst movie sequels of all time. We are going to exclude superhero movie sequels and comic books because those are their own episodes. So comic book movie sequels is an episode that people have been asking us for a while.
Oh, yes.
It was going to be that or bad movie sequels. Like,
we flipped a coin.
And we went with bad movie sequels. So we're just going to talk about movies in general and more or less just the worst movie sequels of all time. I tried to...
Okay. So I was going to say superhero movie sequels is a show in and of itself.
Yep.
And also I would argue Disney movie sequels is a show in and of itself.
My experience with Disney movie sequels is tenuous at best because when they started doing that, I was already too kind of graduating away from Disney movies in general. And when I saw like, Lady and the Tramp 2, I'm like, "Come on." And I just shut off. I think I caught Return of Jafar and was like, "Whoa, quality dive." Okay, I see what I can expect from these sequels left.
Here is the thing about Disney movie sequels. It's probably the only thing you need to know about it. They come in two flavors. Either the pilot for a TV show they were planning to make, which Return of Jafar was, and indeed
Little Mermaid
it eventually...
2.
Yep, again, pilot for TV shows they would try and make, and in some cases they would actually happen. In some cases, even they'd get lazy. There was the Atlantis sequel, which was literally just like 4 truncated episodes they had in the bank.
Oh my god.
And they're like, let's see if this becomes anything. It didn't.
No, the movie didn't become anything.
No. And then, there's the other type, the much more common type, and that is the children of the characters from the first movie learn the exact same lesson that their parents from the first movie learned.
While that is a truism, children oftentimes will repeat the mistakes of their parents, I don't know if it needs to be immortalized. These are stories that are literal cash grabs. There's no point to them. There's nobody who was working at Disney that said, "Have we told everything? Have we explored every untapped story potential from The Lion King?" No. Let's go with it. And as I understand, of course, they did do like that Timon and Pumbaa, like Rosencrantz and Guildenstern movie, but like
that was funny. That was what every so often in the Disney sequels they'll get creative. They did that. They did a time travel plot with like the third Cinderella movie, if you can believe it.
I cannot believe that.
They did a time travel one, and then even you'll get something like Aladdin 3 where it's like, okay, let's actually bring this full circle and bring it to an end. Like, hey, let's bring in Aladdin's dad who's totally not Sean Connery, and let's riff on the third Indiana Jones while we're at it.
That was very much a Last Crusade ripoff. But don't worry, we'll be talking more about Indiana Jones in a little bit.
Oh, you bet we will be.
So before we get into our actual list, and maybe a couple of movies will fall out as a result of this conversation.
They always do.
Yeah, I want to talk about movie sequels in general and how you more or less have two schools of thought. You always, when I first started getting into film, and I'm sure with you as well, Joel, when I first started getting into film and thinking about and exploring movie sequels, at first there were pretty much two roads. There was the creative road, where it was we always kind of had an idea for a story that was going to keep going, and so as a result of its success, we decided to keep going with the second one. And then there was the cash grab.
Oh, yes.
Like one where it was just we didn't have any plan, and it happened to make money, so we're going to make another one. And there are a lot of movies that got sequels that struck gold more than once. It still wound up working out, but for me, I found that when they tried to explore untapped potential just to follow the almighty dollar, it oftentimes fell into the category that we're exploring today.
Diminishing returns is a real thing with sequels, and that is, if it did good the first time, doesn't always mean it'll do as good the second time.
No, it's true. Yeah, somebody just mentioned that the Paranormal Activity sequels. I mean, Paranormal Activity is not a story; it's more of a gimmick. And so, just like Blair Witch, for example, that had a story, And you know
Mm-hmm.
what's funny? I kind of dug the first Blair Witch movie. When I first saw it, and I saw it in theaters, it was kind of scary, and it was in the fledgling days of the internet, and so you kind of had this. Even though the rational part of your brain's like, "There's no way this is real," there's a part of you that wants to believe that it was real,
You
and
wanted to
so
take the ride.
yeah, and so you kind of just shut it off and then explore, and they throw out like all these different ideas and all this different world building, and they do it in kind of an organic way where while normally it would be in a traditional movie like an info dump, like here's a bunch of
Yeah.
info context in the couching of the story, it's all part of a documentary. So as such, characters will just dump information at you, and it works. It makes sense as a result. But that said, the Blair Witch 2 was
Book of Shadows.
Book of Shadows. Thank you. Was obviously for me. It was obviously just they had a script that kind of had a similar idea, and they
So let's superimpose it.
They just slapped Blair Witch on it. And
Book
brushed
of
it
Shadows
out.
is interesting too because it actually took like a little bit more thought than your average cash grab sequel, because it's like, okay, well, let's take this concept and let's totally blow it up and let's get really meta and outside the box with it. I mean, it
Yeah.
wasn't good, but I give it credit though for at least aiming higher than most sequels do.
It had, and I actually kind of like applaud the ending to that movie, because while it's obviously, trying to just trade on the name, and it might have just been just a pile of shit movie that they just called Blair Witch 2, they still wound up like sticking to their guns and making something interesting. That's better than I can say for something like Terminator Salvation, which was a movie
Definitely.
that had an ending that they were all incredibly proud of themselves for doing, and
Yep.
then when the internet heard about it, they all said that was dumb. And so they changed it at the last second, and it's really obvious.
Yep. I would say, the Terminator franchise in general has been a lot of bad sequels in a row. Let us not forget Geonosis.
Oh my god, I didn't even bother, because at this point,
Neither did I.
At this point,
It's
if
dead.
it says
It's
Terminator,
dead.
you're not gonna go like it's not gonna be good.
It's a dead franchise. It's another ubiquitous nerd franchise that we should, applaud when it does good and ignore it when it does bad. Terminator to me has entered the same ranks as stuff like The Crow or Highlander.
Yeah, well, you know what's funny? For me, The Crow and Highlander, at least with Terminator, at least has one good sequel,
It's true.
as opposed to Crow and Highlander, which don't
have no good sequels, and the closest ones they have to being good sequels are just complete and utter retreads of the first one.
Exactly. The only one Highlander movie sequel that I enjoy is the Endgame one, where it's literally just a sequel to The Show and a torch baton passing moment, which
Very comic book, very legacy hero.
such a garbage movie though. It's basically
God,
just a double length episode of Highlander the series, but
Sure is.
but it's such but it's at least well shot. It's just such garbage.
With
Just-
Lambert being too old and sick and almost blind too, like doesn't he suffer from like blindness in one eye? He can barely fight, so when you actually get the big fight moment, it's really disappointing.
it is really sad.
That movie's also a bit of a lie too. There's like a multitude of different cuts out there, and they filmed shit only for the trailer to try and get people excited to see
That's
that.
weak. I mean,
That's very weak.
The Highlander series for me, it's not like a tentpole franchise movie that requires integrity and self-respect. It's a movie that is literally just, well, let's create convenience so that we can have modern people wearing trench coats fighting
Fight with
with
swords.
swords. That's it. Like that, the whole mythology and world building of the show with the Watchers and the non-involvement, like that's all just, we need to keep the lights on, make it like extend the show. I don't know, whatever. Fucking add this stuff, add this, But as far as the Highlander movie, like it was just an indie flick where it was like, wouldn't this
Definitely.
be cool? And I think Queen agreed, and so as such, we have a bitchin' soundtrack.
Oh hell yeah!
With
Born
a-
to be kings, we are the princes of the
Oh
universe.
God, it's so great. I mean, Queen.
Who
is just
wants to
brilliant.
live forever?
Highlander is one of those movies. Crow is another one where Crow is number one. Whenever they talk about rebooting the Crow, you're like, what are you doing?
Every subsequent sequel was basically a remake, and they were all terrible.
It's a product of its time. The Crow can only exist in the black guyliner goth era of 1993.
It was lightning in a bottle with a soundtrack that shall never be topped.
That's true. Also, by the way, should not be on this list because it's a comic book movie adaptation. But it does...
People forget that.
But
People
everyone
forget
forgets that, and the fact is, like, everyone who loves The Crow probably also doesn't know that it was a comic book.
That's
they love
also
it because
true.
it's goth. But yeah, Crow never got a good sequel.
Nope.
Never worked out for them.
And I hope they don't remake it, even though they keep threatening to remake it.
Yes, please, just don't. That's the thing, is that you can never count on Hollywood to just not do something. They will definitely do it if they think there's even the slightest chance of getting a buck. See also the Mortal Kombat sequel.
Oh, God, yes. What was that one? Annihilation?
I think that was Annihilation. The first one is was a guilty pleasure of mine until recently when I saw it. Like, I had watched it. I remember when I saw it in theaters and was like, this is the greatest greatest video game movie sequel or movie I've ever seen in my life. How amazing is this? And,
I saw it as a kid, too, and I'm like, this is the coolest shit. It's colored ninja people punching each other like in my video game.
Yeah, it literally was freaking awesome. And despite the fact that Raiden wasn't even close to Asian, it was Christopher Lambert, so who cares?
Bringing it back to Highlander.
Exactly. That movie was, and it had like pretty killer special effects back then, although I think reptiles still probably looked pretty bad back then too.
Yeah.
But then you made Mortal Kombat 2 Annihilation, which was like the Birdemic of video game sequels.
Sure was.
Unless you count any Yui Bowl movie, but I don't think those are movies.
Ooh.
I don't count.
No,
it's like making fun of a clown when you talk about Yui Bowl movies. You know, he's also been on record as being like, I'm a hack. I deliberately buy movie franchises so that I can
it's a
pad my
tax
paycheck.
scam. I do this to abuse German tax law.
Right, like he's a fucker and a liar and a thief, and the movies that he makes don't even deserve, like being discussed. Like when someone talks about the worst movies of all time, you talk about like The Room, which was the best kind of terrible movie. It's like Plan 9 from Outer Space, where it's somebody at the helm who had way too much creative control, who believed way too much in their own vision, who had a huge ego and wanted to just see what they had in their head on screen, but lacked any talent and any foresight to make that actually realized. And so you got something beautifully terrible.
I could be wrong, but I think they actually changed the German tax law that he had been abusing just because he was so flagrant about his abuse for it.
Yeah, he would when he did press tours, just be like, lol, fuck you.
But basically, for those of you who don't know, there was a thing that Uwe Boll was, kind of abusing, and that is that if you make a movie in Germany as part of their like endowments for the arts or anything, they will reimburse you at least half of whatever you spent making it.
Yeah.
So pretty much he would just make it for as much as he had to, and he would just, crunch the numbers to the point where he would never lose, and everything he did was just pure profit.
That's fucked. Like, that is just theft. That's like the Adam Sandler, I want to make my movie in Hawaii because I'd like a free trip to Hawaii with all my friends scam.
Tevye just brought up there, isn't he also a boxer? Not really, but as part of a thing there, he would actually challenge critics who didn't like his movies to boxing matches, and he would beat the shit out of these poor little bloggers and internet writers.
Right, and but it was also just all publicity and all a stunt and all it's just more horseshit. So too do I lump the Sharknado movies in because once again, like, okay, I don't remember the name of the production company that makes those Sharknado movies / sci-fi movies.
Asylum.
Yeah, the ones who like churn out these movies constantly, where they're like, let's hire terrible actors. We'll get one D-list actor who's not working, who is aware of their failure, and then we'll cast them in it, and we'll do deliberately terrible special effects in order to make it hilarious. I don't consider those to be I don't consider them films. I don't consider them bad movies. I don't lump them in, Like my criteria for a bad movie is that they thought they were making a real movie. That it needs to be there's a level of earnestness somewhere on the bedrock of that film. Especially, like, look at Fantastic Four, the Roger Corman flick, where it was everyone who was developing the movie knew it was fake, but the people who were making it at the time, the actors, I think even the director, were not aware that the movie was going to be shelved immediately. It was just a project to keep the rights,
which is amazing.
That makes it a great bad movie because
It
everyone's
does.
trying. That's the best part. It's why people love fail videos, because you want to watch someone try really hard and then just fail. And
Yeah,
that's
it's
there's something. It's
Schadenfreude.
Schadenfreude, as we call it, or as they call it, the Germans, I believe. But it's gold. I love that's the kind of movie that I love. And Sharknado is a dodge. It's a hack. It's fake.
When you intentionally try to make a bad movie, it's not a joke anymore. It's like you made it serious.
It's why I don't really consider Birdemic to be really a legitimate bad movie. I feel
Because they
like
tried.
I think that he tried, but I think there was a level where he also didn't. There's also an I don't give a fuck in there. Where I don't know if it was I don't know the story of that director and his, but Birdemic 2 obviously is just I want to make a bad Birdemic movie.
Oh, of course.
With
I
that,
think
it's a terrible movie.
Michael in the chat said it perfectly here. Misplaced passion makes for glorious disasters.
Exactly.
That's beautiful, actually, sir. Put that on a T-shirt.
Seriously. You know what's a sequel issue that we should talk about in general? And this is probably its whole topic, but let's take a chunk, because I'm sure you have a lot of thought in the subject. Horror movie sequels.
Yes.
Like slasher movies all the way up to Saw movies. I was talking to the Bard from the Why is Hero Quest So Great not too long ago, and I wanted to credit him because he's the one who said that Friday the 13th is a reverse remake of the Beowulf story. And holy crap, did that crack open my brain, and all my preconceived notions of being intelligent flew out. But where it's, I think it's Chrissy is Grendel, and she comes upon Hrothgar, which is actually Camp Crystal Lake, and instead of it being it's reversed in that the beast is superseded by the mother, but in this case it's the mother and then the beast replaces the mother. Like, which is why and recently Sci-Fi had like a marathon of Friday the 13th movies.
As they always do.
I consider Friday the 13th 1, 2, and 3 to be legitimate sequels that try, even though they're also like, we can also make some bank. It's a perfect storm where they're like, we can make money, but I also have an idea.
And culturally, too, you need the third one because, like, friggin' Jason Voorhees doesn't become the guy we all know with the hockey mask until, like, isn't it like halfway through 3 he picks up the mask?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the hockey mask is just yet another potato sack. It's just another thing to obscure his horrible face. That became iconic because you'd never seen anything like that before, and it was easy to just kind of like, package and sell and throw out there. But like, now
it's iconic.
It's iconic. It becomes iconic when it's deliberate, when you're not deliberately trying to be iconic. But with horror movies, I think like sequels are implicit. Like even the most like earnest and open-minded sequels, like Halloween, end with a but maybe there's more, like, kind of thing.
You always got to leave them wanting more. You always got to put that question mark at the end.
You got to drop a question mark. And it's funny how I've been thinking about the, like, sequels, and especially bad ones, and Friday the 13th is guilty of having some pretty goddamn terrible sequels, as well as horror movies in general. Looking at you, Leprechaun. But
even Nightmare on Elm Street, everyone's got their stinkers.
Nightmare on Elm Street, even Friday the 13th, Jason X when he goes into space.
Oh yes, you're out of ideas when you send them to space or the Hood.
Yeah, the Hood or space or both.
The Hood in space, Space Hood.
Space Hood. But I was thinking about how you kind of think to yourself that movie sequels are kind of like new. The idea of being like, oh well, let's take this thing that works and then make another one. And then you think back to like, no, even Arthur Conan Doyle made sequels to Sherlock Holmes, and
Planet of the Apes, even some of the oldest sequels I can think of.
Yeah. Oh my God, that was a saga with more and more of that. But I was thinking about how sequels are ingrained in our culture to a degree that is to our earliest stories. I don't remember there being a Gilgamesh 2, but I certainly know a good sequel to the Old Testament. That, even like our earliest texts that inform our religion and culture have sequels, like legitimate sequels, where Judeo-Christian mythology where they have the idea of the messianic figure, and then Jesus kind of going out of his way to fill in the gaps so that he could be like, no, I am that messianic figure because I've checked off all these criteria. I am also a sequel, if you will.
I've never thought of it that way. That's amazing. Man, Catholicism, the sequel to Judaism you've all been waiting for.
Yeah, I mean, it's in one form insulting, in another form blasphemous to say, like, no, Catholicism's the sequel to Judaism, but it's only selective. You can, it's almost like headcanon. Like, oh, no, I don't choose to believe in that sequel, so I'm going to keep going with my theory. With my continuity.
I'm reminded of Futurama there, where it's like, wait. So all you Jewish robots there, you don't believe in robot Jesus? No, we do believe he was programmed and that he was a
very
good
well
bot,
built.
but that he was not our Messiah.
Yeah. But yeah, religion and movie sequels. I was just saying that, like, sequels are ingrained in our culture, so the natural inclination to make sequels for me isn't necessarily implicitly a cash grab. There's always the, like, well, what happens next? It's always just the desire to complete the story, even when the story might be obviously completed.
Mm-hmm. And then you have, like, the series, too, where it's like, no, I always imagined it as a trilogy. Granted, that's kind of been, debunked as of recent. It's like, sure, you always imagined it as a trilogy.
Yeah, and there are some who make sequels that are made and the studio thinks it's going to be a commercial success, but those who are making it have a real story in mind, and they really, really need to get it done very specifically and very deliberately. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking of The Matrix, and how the first movie
you used it as the
cover
thumbnail
of this image because The Matrix is, in most recent history, is the number one non-Star Wars related sequel that everybody kind of unanimously agrees never quite lives up to the promise. And even Matrix Reloaded, Reloaded isn't quite as bad as Revolutions. Reloaded, it builds upon the basic principles of the first movie, but it goes in directions where you go, what the fuck is that? Like, I'm thinking of the Merovingian scene where he just talks for 45 minutes about nothing, and it's just reiterating more and more this basic principle that the Wachowskis are, and now all of a sudden you're noticing it, like, deliberately trying to get you to understand, to the point where they apparently gave out to the cast and crew, like, copies of this book that informed the writing of the Matrix series. And you're like, what the fuck? Like, you have an agenda? God damn it! No, because you can tell there's a direction, narratively speaking. If you study film, if you study story and narrative structure, you know that there's a direction that stories naturally go in. Joseph Campbell, of course, is famously one of the scholars who kind of breaks that formula down and explains to you how that goes. But with the Matrix sequels, they go in that direction because Matrix 1 is a perfect Campbellian formula, right? Hero's journey, hero of a thousand faces. But you can tell, even in the Matrix 1, that the Wachowskis are going to start fucking with it. Where normally the sage character, he imparts some wisdom and then he dies, which further emboldens the hero to progress on his journey. The sage doesn't have to die, but oftentimes he does. Obi-Wan Kenobi, I'm thinking of specifically. But with Morpheus does not do anything in the rest of the Matrix franchise except inspire Neo, right? That's what he does.
And be cool-ass Lawrence Fishburne.
He's a badass. If he were played by Sean Connery, I'll bet he would have died. And by the way, he was going to be played by Sean Connery, except that Sean Connery didn't get it.
A bunch of famous roles that Sean Connery gave up on because he didn't get it.
We can blame Sean Connery Gandalf not happening and Sean Connery Morpheus not happening all on The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, which is the only Alan Moore movie that he signed off on. So
yeah,
thanks a lot, Al.
Good job, buddy. Good job.
Being pissy about Before Watchmen and the V for Vendetta movie does nothing to solve your problem of having endorsed that movie, which is
the movie that pretty much made Sean Connery stop acting. He pretty much did no movies after that.
He crawled into a shell and went away. But yeah, those Matrix movies, man. That's why they're so terrible. It's become a trope in back issues where it's like some part of him imprinted onto you or some part of me imprinted, like, because it's just such a deliberately hand-wavy explanation. Like, how are you alive and how do I sense you? Oh, because I need you to be able to do that. And we don't have time because I need a 45-minute long Merovingian scene.
The Matrix 2 also, I think, falling into, again, in my mind anyway, into the same place as Highlander and Crow. Like, okay, it's just another ubiquitous nerd franchise. Now we got the Animatrix and we got the video games and we got all the other stuff now. So now it's just a big canon continuity stew, pick and choose whatever you want, whatever.
Well, that's true. Man, though, that third one. I made a rainbow for Neo. Fuck you. What's another horrible movie sequel that you probably had to whip up very quickly before we started the show?
Well, I got a bunch of them in front of me right now. There's a lot of bad comedy sequels.
That's like, it's with comedy movies, it should always be a default no. Should we make a sequel to that? No. Because it's a comedy. It by itself stands. It's a joke. It's like a joke. Like, don't make a sequel to a joke. Don't make a sequel to a comedy. But
the 22 Jump Street one hit it perfectly when they're like, just do the same thing again, but different.
But I think that was them deliberately just making lemons or lemonade out of lemons, where they're like, we're going to make it anyway. It was like Gremlins 2.
Yeah.
Which is a great movie sequel where they're like, we're going to make it with or without you. And it's like, okay, well then I guess I have to do it and I have to work on it. With 22 Jump Street, it's like, we're going to make a 22 Jump Street whether you fucking want to or not. And them kind of making a movie, like, criticizing that motivation is brilliant.
Was genius.
Yeah.
Here's some good ones for you.
Yeah.
The Hangover sequels, both of them are god-awful.
Yep. And everyone unanimously kind of agrees, why did you do that?
You didn't. The first Hangover, one of the best modern comedies of the last 10 years. It was perfect. It had a beginning, middle, and end. Characters grew. They changed. They were somewhere different at the end of it. It was all a good time.
Yeah.
Literally within the first 5 minutes, I remember when I watched Hangover 2, and I never finished it because that's how bad it was.
Yeah.
The first 5 minutes in, where you see that all the characters have regressed to the way they were back in the first one, and they're being assholes for no reason. It's like, oh no, we made a bad choice here. And from then, they literally just repeat all the beats from the first movie.
Ugh.
Funny animal, crazy cameo, and I'm like, yep, you just threw this into the sequel-o-matic.
Yeah.
And you basically just made the same movie again in a different place. Good job. This is everything wrong with comedy sequels right here.
Yeah. Although, you know what's funny? There's some sequels that do that exact thing, and people are like, I don't care, I want more. Rush Hour.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone, I find most people like Rush Hour 2 more than 1. Although everyone agrees Rush Hour 3 sucks.
Yeah, I will actually agree with the Rush Hour 2 thing. Rush Hour 2, yeah.
Yeah. And
let us also include, while we're on the Jackie Chan thing, Shanghai Noon, Shanghai Nights. Same deal.
I didn't see Shanghai Nights.
Shanghai Nights actually isn't too bad. It's actually pretty funny.
Okay.
It's Jackie Chan screwing around in Britain doing his Charlie Chaplin kung fu shtick.
Right. Okay. A lot of people are mentioning the Blues Brothers 2000.
Oh, yeah.
That's a movie that's like, what the and then you find out John Landis made that movie and you go, oh no!
Oh no, indeed.
There was no point to that. There's no reason for that. But what's amazing was them doing it in the worst possible way. There is no sequel to Blues Brothers. Like,
no.
And I don't mean like, let's all just cover our eyes and pretend. I just mean narratively, there can't be a sequel to Blues Brothers. Like, the story is done. That is all the story that's left, as proven by showing you Blues Brothers 2000. Another one that I find is kind of a shitty sequel, although Tiffany would disagree with me, is Hannibal.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot about Hannibal.
Yeah, that's how most people feel. I know everyone usually shits on Red Dragon.
I like Red Dragon.
I like Red Dragon too.
You and me, Red Dragon.
Yeah, not like.
Do you see?
Do you see? Yeah, like that was kind of interesting. But that's more of a prequel than a sequel.
It is. It really is.
But Hannibal, man, what the fuck? It took. Well, it proved that you shouldn't have Hannibal in a whole movie. And it also kind of like ruins the magic of the first one. It doesn't ruin the first one. Silence of the Lambs is one of those movies.
One of the greatest movies.
I think I have like a list of 10, and I don't have an official one, but it's a perfect film.
It
does everything that it wants to do.
To make a sequel to that is really ballsy and maybe ill-advised.
I think Tom Harris did a book sequel first,
He
but
did.
that doesn't necessarily mean that's a good idea. But yeah, the Silence of the Lambs is a perfect movie. It does it like you know what else I consider to be a perfect movie? The Fugitive.
Yeah.
Which has its own sequel, U.S. Marshals.
Which again, I imagine most people didn't even know that was a sequel.
Yeah. Damn it, U.S. Marshals. What the crap? Yeah, so anyway.
Oh, dude, Mr. Pink just reminded me there was Hannibal, and then there was another prequel, Hannibal Rising.
Oh my god.
Did you see it? I saw Hannibal Rising. Did you see it?
I did not. Nor did I see the show, but
the show's actually pretty
I've heard
decent.
good things about the show. But what
the
happens
show is
with,
like Ultimate Universe Hannibal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what
is what it is.
All right, what is Hannibal Rising?
Okay, so Hannibal Rising. Okay, oh fuck. Oh my god, I can't believe I actually got a chance to talk about this. Okay, so Hannibal Rising, we see young little boy Hannibal walking around during like World War II, and his family is killed by like war criminals who eat them to survive the winter. And then he goes to Japan to train as a samurai because apparently like his uncle married a Japanese woman, and they totally rip off Frank Miller's Wolverine run in Japan, where he goes through that, gets the skills that he needs to go and fight the war criminals, which he does. And then at the end, like the Japanese woman he loved, where it's like, okay, I got my revenge now. We're cool, right? Even though I ate all those people. And she's like, how could I love you? There's nothing left in you to love. And he's like, no.
Wow, fuck that.
It's kind of amazing. Like, I think I remember watching it just like this, like
what is happening?
Are they actually doing this? That's what it was.
That sucks.
It's so bad, it's actually kind of amazing.
It's like a glorious train wreck.
It is, and talk about like another movie where it's like you guys actually did try here. You actually thought you were doing something special and something amazing here.
That's funny. Also, Daniel reminds me, fuck the Karate Kid remake.
Oh, yes. Yeah, you hated on this one pretty solidly before.
I will say also, Karate Kid 2, just as good as Karate Kid 1. Karate Kid 3, not so great, but not nearly as bad as Karate Kid 4.
Well, Karate Kid 3 is another example of the let's just do the same thing over again, but different. They basically recycled the plot from the first movie all over again.
Karate Kid 4 is definitely that, where it's like, let's just do the same thing, but with a girl.
Oh, yeah, that's right. With a young, what's her
Hilary
face?
Swank.
Young Hilary Swank.
Yeah. Wow, that movie's not great. But Michael Ironside's in it, so that can't be that bad. I'll also say this used to be the Godfather 3 category, where everyone's like, Godfather 3 should not exist. Yeah, they're right. It's real bad. But there are a few moments in Godfather 3 that are great. Does it warrant the whole movie? Hell no. Godfather 2 is perfect, although I prefer Godfather 1. I think Godfather 1 is perfect. I think Godfather 2 is great. I wouldn't say perfect. I think it's great.
It's the Empire v. Star Wars debate where it's like the first one is better because it's focused like a laser. The second one has more features, but it's a little bit more bloated.
I don't know. I think what Empire does, I don't think it's bloated in as much as Empire does a better job at world building and character building. It actually,
everything we quote from Star Wars is from Empire.
And the fact is, with Empire, you're like, okay, we get the archetypes in the first movie, and then in the second one we challenge them, which is really cool. But yeah, Godfather 3 sucks. There's a lot of things wrong with it. Number one, it's in the wrong era. Like it's too soon. You know what I mean? It's too modern. Number two, the actors are just like modern, like they're actors that are working to that day, like during that time, like Andy Garcia and that guy from Airheads and a couple other people, and you're like, what the fuck? These guys aren't good. And it's like, yeah, that's because because Francis Ford Coppola is starting to drink his own Kool-Aid and believe he can do no wrong. And then he hired his daughter to play Michael Corleone's daughter, and you're like, wow, Sofia Coppola needs to go away like tomorrow. And then she made that cut to a few years later, and she made Lost in Translation, which I think is terrible. But I'm in the minority on that one.
Neil in the chat came up with two perfect ones. Technically comic book ones, but no one knows these ones were comic either. Men in Black 2 and 3.
Men in Black 2 might be the most disappointing sequel I had seen in recent years.
You had so much potential, and you fucked it so hard.
It was literally just... that ruined Barry Sonnenfeld as a creator for me, because I was like, okay, he doesn't have any integrity, doesn't care, because he made the movie and it's literally just the first one but less intelligent and with less subtlety.
Yep, and I've said it before too. They had that great Men in Black animated series,
which was way better.
A million times better. The true sequel, in my mind, the true continuation of the Men in Black adventures is in the cartoon and
Yeah.
nowhere else.
Yeah. Do they explain where Kay goes?
In the cartoon, no. Kay stays on and is his partner through the rest of
So
that.
it's like just an alternate reality where at the end of the movie he doesn't mind wipe Kay.
Yeah, I get. It's funny. Wow, so I never thought of that because the morgue lady sticks around and is an agent, but Kay is there too. Yeah, wow, I never thought of that. I assumed it just kind of took place in between, where it's like, okay, these are all the adventures they had before they defeated the bug and everything. But wait, that's impossible because that was all in his first. Wow, man, you're blown. How did I never think of this?
Yeah, that's
all
the
these
problem.
years.
I mean, like, yeah, and then you watch Men in Black 3, and you're like, holy shit, Tommy Lee Jones looks about 1,000 years old. Oh, no.
Talk about way too little, way too late as far as sequels go.
There's nothing redeeming about 2. There's nothing that they bring to the table that you would give a shit about. The villain is terrible. The CG is god-awful. The puppetry is, like, lazy. There's no character development. There's hand-wavy explanations. Poor Rosario Dawson, I think, was either introduced in this movie, or at least she was this is one of her first, like, big-time breakout movies, and I thought she was a bad actress. But what's obvious is she's just like, I don't know what to make of this movie. There's a moment where at the end of the movie when they reveal that she's the Light of Zartha.
Yeah.
That's the only good part, is the Light of Zartha, like, Men in Black tape that they show from David Cross.
I wish I could have just watched that.
That was funny. But the Light of Zartha, when they're like, all right, we gotta find the light, where's the light? And then Kay goes, right here. And she literally just goes, I'm the light.
Yeah.
Like, that's really, that's the laziest thing we could have done.
But there you got it.
Yeah. Do we count all the Hobbit movies?
I don't know. I mean, that they can't really call those sequels. They like film those back to back with all one thing in mind, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, nobody was going to make them until they were like, oh, we still have more left. I feel so bad. You got to watch the documentaries where Peter Jackson's like, I didn't want to do this. I didn't know what I was doing. I had no plan. They called me. They didn't have scripts finished yet.
Ooh,
they had Andy Serkis. First of all, they had Andy Serkis directing second unit movie stuff.
Jesus.
And secondly, they were just shooting battle scenes that had no beginning, middle, or end or point, just so they could, like, have them in the can.
We're going to use this later. It's funny, too, talking about writing without a script finish. Yeah, that was the same thing for Men in Black, too. They all signed on with no script finished.
You don't do that. Don't sign sight unseen, man. F that.
Yup.
Die Hard 5 is the worst Die Hard movie ever made.
Which one is 5? I forget.
That's the one with Jai Courtney.
Oh, as his son when he goes to, like, Russia and he's like, I'm on vacation.
Where John McClane and Bruce Willis kind of merge into one person and become like this bullheaded dick. Who goes to a foreign country and then just punches people for asking legitimate questions.
Mm-hmm. Talk about a series that became a total parody of itself by the end.
The whole point of Die Hard movies is that they don't start out as Die Hard movies. They're other movies. Like, the first one's Die Hard, and then all the other ones are other movies that were scripts for, pretty okay generic movies, but then with some Die Hard shit in there.
You put some John McClane in there, and suddenly it goes up a notch.
Yeah, they're literally just movies that, like, okay, so they're gonna steal gold in New York City, fine. Like, that's all right, we'll sit on it. Maybe, like, when there's a lazy summer, we'll put it out. But then it's like, well, why don't I put John McClane in there, and then all of a sudden it's awesome, and it's a lot of fun. Yeah. Those are what Die Hard movies are. Just like the Predator formula is, there's a really cool action movie in there, and then the Predator shows up and makes it even more awesome. That's what you do.
Love it.
The Predator interrupts the flow of your actual action movie and becomes another action movie. Just like that, Die Hard is another movie that didn't work, and then you just throw John McClane in there, and you're ready to go. But Die Hard 5, they were like, let's write a Die Hard movie. That's why Die Hard 4, which they call
A Good Day to Die Hard.
I thought that was Live Free or Die Hard, but I don't remember which one it is.
Oh, no, A Good Day to Die Hard was another one they had in the bank that they never used.
I thought that was the fifth one. I don't even remember what the hell the fifth one was.
They're all stupid. It's hard to keep track of them.
Yeah. The The fourth one, which I call Die Hard 4.0, because I think that was the European name, which I kind of dug because it was like, it's awful, but it's better than like Live Free or Die Hard.
It's letting you know right out of the gate. Look, Die Hard 4.0, guys. Come on. What do you want from us?
But I kind of dug it. I don't like that it's like kind of blue because it's like directed by Wiesman, who did Underworld. Once you know the Underworld guy did Die Hard 4, you're like, oh, that's why everything's dark and blue. But it's still pretty fun, and it still follows the Die Hard formula, where it's like there's this plot, it's obviously another script, and then they put John McClane in there. He has a team up with a little buddy, like he has a sidekick. But this time it's his daughter, and the daughter's not bad either. Like, it's fun, and Ola Fantastic is a great douchebag.
Yeah.
Like, if you ever saw Catch and Release, you're like, fuck you. Like, this guy is such an unsympathetic douchebag. And you're like, yeah. Oliphant can only play bad guys.
It's true.
But Die Hard 5 is unforgivably terrible.
You know, while we're talking about those old action guy movies, I know the jury's kind of out on Rocky 4. Some people really like Rocky 4. Some people don't like Rocky 4. But I think we can all agree Rocky 5 is some bullshit.
Yes. Oh, easily. Oh, no question. All right. There's a lot of... You like Rocky 3. Most people would say Rocky 3 sucks too, but...
3 is my favorite because Clubber Lang, fool.
Rocky 4 is not a good movie. It
No.
is... You know what's funny, though? But it's interesting how they... kind of criticize America in its own way, because
it's a
when
weird
the
time
Russians
capsule.
show up, like, America's like, woo, and they make this whole posturing. That's where Apollo Creed dies. It's just all this America, like, it's in your face, and it's
They go in half cocked and everything gets fucked up because of it.
yeah, it's like warning the dangers of believing your own hype, which I kind of dug.
Don't believe in American exceptionalism because a super Russian might punch you to death while you're wearing an Uncle Sam costume.
Exactly. I think that's kind of a cool concept, but it has too many montages, and it's just not very good.
And at the end, when it just becomes pure propaganda, where Rocky defeats the Soviet Union through the power of a slurred speech.
Yes, not great. It's not 5, but it's not great. I also missed Rocky Balboa, but I heard it's fantastic.
Well, here's the hilarious thing about 5. 5, five is bad because it's pure navel gazing, is what it is. It's like, I got to get back to my roots in Philadelphia. I got to walk around, sets and scenes from the first movie, and I got to tell my kid fighting is wrong. But then, I'll have a street fight at the end with Tommy Gunn and the Don King stand-in.
Yeah,
which is really bad and poorly explained. It navel gazes and it's bad. The problem with that is that they navel gazed way too soon. Rocky Balboa does the exact same thing many years later of him going back and walking around Philly, but now Stallone is actually old and you actually buy it now.
Yeah. Similarly, Creed is basically just Rocky Balboa, but with a more fun plot.
Yeah, with another guy now, essentially. It's the Karate Kid 4. We'll bring in a new one, we'll pass the baton, but actually have it be good.
Right, except Miyagi still trains the Hilary Swank. It's not that, like, Daniel, inherits the dojo because Miyagi dies and he trains. I would have more respect for it, although I will say... Miyagi's the reason to watch those movies.
It's true.
Pat Morita's fucking unbelievable. And it's a sin that we lost him so early. But
hey, the actor who played Daniel, he isn't doing much these days. Don't give him that pitch where it's like, okay, so look, Daniel inherits the dojo.
Oh my
and it's
God.
all these years later, and he's got to train a new kid to karate.
Somebody misinterpreted our comments. We like Creed, and we were just talking about how great it was. So
oh yeah, we
chill
love
out.
Creed. Creed's really good. Creed was one of the best movies of last year.
Yeah, yeah. I saw it on a plane. I was like, this is fucking solid.
It's wonderful.
All the Alien and Predator movies after 1990, with the exception of Predators.
Yeah, that's fair. That's really fair.
Like, even Alien 3, it's at least trying to do something.
It's got its moments. It's got Ron Perlman, right? He's in that one.
No, that's the fourth one.
Oh shit.
He plays a space pirate, and it's written by Joss Whedon, and it's fucking unwatchable.
Yeah, it is.
But
that's the one with the little babby alien.
With the humanoid alien that's like huge, and it like gets sucked through a hole, and you're like, what the fuck did I waste my time doing?
Yeah.
They were also if you ever watch Alien Resurrections behind the scenes DVD featurettes. There's a featurette that just says like, I can't believe we got Winona Ryder in this movie. and they just talk about how great Winona Ryder is. She might be the worst part of that movie.
But she was hot at that time.
Yeah. They're like, I can't believe like she was doing fucking Sense and Sensibility or whatever, and she's doing it now. Like, it's amazing. I'm like, fuck those movies. Alien 3 is not great, but at least it's trying. But I'm still happy that the Neil Blomkamp Alien movie that they might or might not make at this point will unmake it.
Alien versus Predator wasn't very good, but it was kind of a guilty pleasure in a dumb way when you actually finally get to see them fight. Requiem or whatever the one they did after that one,
Requiem.
one was... Yeah, Requiem was boring. It's like, how can you have predators and aliens fighting each other and have it be so goddamn boring?
I fucking hate both those movies.
I mean, like, the first one's not good. I'll give you that
It's not
one.
good. Like, it's not good fundamentally. First of all, you have... No, you know what? That's a whole thing, talking about Aliens and Predator. Just trust me, AVP and AVPR, which is hilarious because AVPR, they only call it Requiem because it starts with the letter R, and they wanted you to know that it was R-rated, is garbage. As are... so those are the... Predators is great.
Yeah, Predators is the one good one.
Yeah, it's too bad they didn't have like the budget. I think it made its money back, but I don't remember if that's true. But I dug the hell out of Predators, and I'm sad that we're not going to get a sequel to that. We're only getting a Shane Black reboot, which is fine. Which
should be all right in its own way. Heck, well, we're on the subject of all these 80s gems there. The RoboCop sequel.
RoboCop! You know, that's got a soft spot for me and Joel, and you'll see why at probably tomorrow morning, because I still have to cut the finish. Like, I'm halfway done editing that episode of Back Issues, but little teaser for, like, the next few hours. RoboCop sequels are all bad.
Because they lost the fact that Verhoeven, it was a parody, it was a satire.
Yes. You
took RoboCop too seriously and you fucked it up.
RoboCop is a parody. RoboCop is not a superhero. RoboCop is not a character that you like look up to. He's a failure. He loses every single time he does anything. Even like he gets broken and destroyed 3 times in the first movie, and then the only way he wins is by having an old man fire another guy. That's how he wins.
And even then he doesn't really win. That's the beautiful part of the satire of the
still
original.
Exists.
Yeah, like that's the thing in RoboCop. The bad guys won. Not only did the bad guys win, they have been winning for, hundreds of years at this point in this universe.
Yeah. No, that sucks. And RoboCop 2 and 3 and the series, like RoboCop the show, garbage.
Which one? There was like 2 cartoons.
No, I mean the live action series.
How did I miss a live action RoboCop series?
Because it was probably on for like maybe a few episodes. But there was a RoboCop cartoon show.
There was 2.
And the remake.
That's right.
Which is it's the worst thing. It might be worse than all the sequels.
I think we talked about this too in remakes, where I said what annoyed me the most about the RoboCop remake is that there was a germ of a good idea in there. Where it's like, let's take RoboCop, make it about the military-industrial complex, and talk about drone warfare. But then they're like, damn it, we're a summer blockbuster. We're too dumb to do that.
Yeah, but like, what about just RoboCop then? I mean, like, there's the like I said I think in the remake episode, that scene though where he's like just a head and lungs.
Not a bad idea.
Chilling.
Cool image.
That was cool moment, and well acted, like really well put together. I've only got a couple more ones on my list, so take it away, Joel. What do you got left?
Oh, geez. Well, again, in the first one isn't good, but the sequels were much worse. The Transformers sequels.
Yeah, they're all pretty bad. Although I think I like the Marky Mark one more than all the Transformers sequels. Like all 2 and 3.
Never saw the Marky Mark one, although I did hear that, because at least the robots don't look awful in the Marky Mark one.
The only thing is Optimus Prime, the third one with Leonard Nimoy playing like the old Autobot that turned coat, like, and hates.
Yes.
Where he's like, please, Optimus, don't kill me. He's like, die.
Fuck you.
I'm like, what the hell's happening? You gotta, if you have never watched it, by the way, fucking, oh no, that might be another one, but I don't remember which one it is now.
Optimus, of course, going to that Spock school of heroics from Into Darkness, where it's like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you.
They're all horrible. It's just the 4 is hilarious. It's got Stanley Tucci yelling, oh my god. You gotta watch, if you ever watch Transformers 4, look us up on either SoundCloud or here on YouTube. The Transformers Age of Extinction audio commentary that we create. It is fucking hilarious. Ben's on that show, but you'll never know it because about 20 minutes in, he falls asleep.
Man after my own heart.
You might hear him snore a little bit, but it's fucking amazing because it's hilarious. We're shooting the show and Ethan and Tiffany and I are like cracking jokes, and I don't hear anything from Ben for a good 45 minutes, and I'm assuming that Ben's like, these guys are fucking jerks. They're talking over this hilarious, amazing movie, and then the lights come on. And he goes, whoa, and I'm like, fucking, were you asleep? How could you be asleep? We had like the audio on and the woofer going. It's amazing. The biggest indictment of the Transformers franchise, the loudest, most incomprehensible one, Ben fell asleep during. Yep. Indiana Jones 4 is garbage. Don't waste your time. There's nothing good about it.
It didn't happen.
It didn't even happen. And one of the worst movies on this list for me, and it's just because it's just so bad, it's not even worth it, is Boondock Saints 2 All Saints Day.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so there have been a lot of rumors about Troy Duffy and like what a racist, misogynist, bigot douchebag he is.
Yeah.
And it's really implicit in the first Boondock Saints movie. You ever watch it? If you're like a sophomore in college, Boondock Saints the coolest movie ever.
That's when I saw it.
Yeah, but then you watch it again as an adult and you're like, this is really dumb. And the only thing that's really well done is the end of the movie where it's like all the interviews.
Which was taken from another movie that he filmed about Miramax screwing him over.
Oh yeah,
it has a name. I can't remember. That like those scenes that we like are taken from a documentary he shot after the fact.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was called. I want to say it was something really terrible. But yeah, Boondock Saints 2 is like, oh, this guy, because he says that Miramax screwed him over because I think they were going to release the movie around the same time that Columbine happened, and it was like, dudes in trench coats going and like dispensing justice is not what we want to be in the business doing right now. So they shelved it, and he was like, so he fucking like Overnight, thank you, was the name of the documentary about him. And it was hilarious because I remember he was like, Overnight is a fucking slam piece. And they were like, if it was a slam piece, we would have left in all the footage about you disparaging women and talking about gays and like all that stuff. We left all that stuff out. No, this is a movie about you being an incompetent filmmaker.
Yeah.
But yeah, and nothing is more proof positive that that Troy Duffy is an incompetent filmmaker more than Boondock Saints 2 All Saints Day.
I've told this story before, but it bears repeating. When I was watching that movie, where it totally broke for me is that the big exposition character going into the third act is Ricky from the Trailer Park Boys, a well-known Canadian character actor, comedian, who gets this big scene, and I'm like, you're not in Boston. You filmed this in Toronto. You fuck right off. You don't think I would know that that's Ricky from the Trailer Park Boys?
That's amazing.
He gets a huge scene, and that's the thing, too. Like, Ricky from the Trailer Park Boys, he's playing an Italian gangster. He's about as Italian as I am. And I'm like, I can't, like, that just shattered the movie for me in my mind. I'm like, yep, can't take this seriously now.
Yeah. Somebody mentioned the Kill Bill sequels. I don't count them as sequels because it's all one movie. Tarantino shot Kill Bill Volumes 1 and 2 as one full movie, and the Weinsteins were like, we could either release a huge movie or we could make double our profits if we cut it in half and release 2 movies. And
I like both of them.
So yeah, it's basically just one movie, but like I get that it kind of does have like an actual like stop, and it does feel like 2 movies, but trust me, it's one full movie.
Here's one that people might have forgotten about: Jeepers Creepers 2.
Yeah, Jeepers Creepers ain't bad.
It's a slick horror movie made by an actual child predator.
Oh.
Did you know that?
You know, I might have known that, but I don't recall. That's awful.
The director of that movie worked on Powder, and like he actually went to jail.
Oh, it's the Powder guy.
Yeah, it's the Powder guy because he was touching the kids on the set of that movie. So yeah, a frightening movie made by a frightening human being.
Yeah, that's awful.
Which shit, when you look at the subtext of the first Jeepers Creepers, this horrible trench-coated monster following around a young Justin Long.
Yeah, no thanks. Holy crap.
Yeah, wow. I know, right?
Yeah.
And the sequel is even worse because like he turns up the homoeroticism like 100%.
Does he come back to make the second one? Is it like
Yes, he
damn
did.
It.
He got out of jail and got to make the sequel.
That's terrifying and horrible.
That is horrifying. That's like nuts, isn't it?
Yeah, that is not cool.
No, not cool at all. And the sequel wasn't very good.
And it wasn't good either.
And it wasn't good either, the fact that this actual monster was directing an actual monster movie. Because it does that thing that every bad horror sequel does, and that is, we had a monster that was, mostly shown in shadows, mostly a mystery. Let's just show a whole bunch of the monster then.
Yeah, don't do that. Jeepers Creepers reminded me of Tremors for some reason. I think it's because you're trapped in a place and you can't leave it, and there's a monster that's going to pick you off. But anyway... And of course, all of Tremors deserves accolades for its brilliant sequels and franchises. Anything else on your list, or can we round it out with our thoughts about bad movie sequels?
Let's lightning round these. Police Academy 2.
Fuck them all, right?
Yeah, I know. Like everyone after the first one. Ooh, The Ring 2. There's another. No. I bet most people don't even remember The Ring 2 was a thing.
Tiffany remembers The Ring 2 because she's a big fan of Japanese horror films.
I liked the first Ring a whole lot. I never thought a PG-13 movie could scare me as much as that one.
I saw that one.
I saw that one in the theaters when it came out.
Yeah, that was for me. I was like, oh, I see. Like that was my first exposure to Japanese horror, I think, and it was of course made by. I think it was actually made by the same guy who made Ringu. I think he directed Ring 1. I don't remember if that's true. But anyway.
And it was actually in Japan, which was kind of cool. Ooh, Son of the Mask, but that's a Jamie Kennedy movie. No one saw that.
Fuck Son of the Mask. Donnie Darko 2, the fucking... all the other Daniel Craig movies in the Bond franchise except Skyfall.
Yeah. All the Taken sequels.
All the Taken sequels.
I would say the Expendable sequels, but then I'm like, no, not even the first one was any good.
I didn't like the first one, but I did like the second one. They're all garbage, but like the second one at least has like some fun.
Staying Alive, the sequel to Saturday Night Fever.
No, you're just deep diving. We don't need to do that.
It's true. That's a whole episode there. Like Basic Instinct 2 from 2006.
Like, come on. No. Yeah.
Who saw that? A bunch of people in the chat were saying Be Cool, the sequel to Get Shorty.
Yes, fuck that movie in particular.
You gotta like The Rock, though, on that one. That was kind of him coming out of his shell as an actor, being like, look, I'll sing a song, I'll debase myself on film, it's all good.
Ooh, somebody reminded me, when I was talking about horror movies, the one that got me into it was Scream. I loved Scream, and I hated Scream 2 and 3, and 4 I didn't see, but Scream 2 and 3 I was like garbage. But you know what's funny?
Scream the TV series.
I'm not even bothering. But I did, but you know what's funny? HBO, for whatever reason, was repeating Scream a bunch of times, so I watched Scream. Fucking, it's not good!
No, that movie has not aged well at all. In fact, it seems kind of annoying now.
It is really annoying, but if you want to know what 1998 was like, you just watch Scream.
Yes. Oh, it's a time capsule. Also, hey, Jamie Kennedy again.
Yep, I liked Jamie Kennedy in that movie back then.
Now you look at him, it's like, oh my god, you're a horrible, like minstrel show version of Nerds and like genre fans, aren't you?
Yep.
Conan the Destroyer, there's another good one.
Conan, terrible sequel.
Mm-hmm.
Great movie, terrible sequel.
It was just cheaper and not as good.
Yep, and PG-13, I think, or PG. It was just like, what the fuck are you doing? I can't wait for King Conan.
Oh, is that still happening?
No.
No.
I mean, I hope so, but like, no. But there you go, guys. I think we could wrap it up from there. That was just a fun little lightning round. There's a lot of movies that still fall into this category of terrible movie sequels. But, like I said, we didn't do the superheroes because we'll do that in another episode.
That is a whole other show.
The Craft, that didn't have a sequel, or if it did, fucking nobody else knows that. But yeah, movie sequels don't inherently mean they're going for a cash grab, but, only... But I find that when they are usually tripping over themselves to try and get that dollar... is when you get these horrible movie sequels. Like,
ooh, The Never-Ending Story. There's another series that had a bunch of weird sequels.
2 was one of my first... It was 2 and Ninja Turtles 3 that proved that taught me as a child that they can make bad movies.
Even things you like can suck. I kind of like the third Never-Ending Story, if only because Jack Black is the villain in that. A young, svelte Jack Black playing a punk gang leader.
Yeah. God damn it. But yeah, Joel, thoughts on terrible movie sequels? Just kind of like rounding out the topic itself?
You know what? Sometimes you can actually see a bad sequel coming from a mile away. Sometimes you can't, though.
That's true. Yeah, sometimes it's like you hope for the best. I mean, I remember Prometheus had everything going for it, and people were like, "This is gonna be," and I was like, "This is gonna be fucking awesome." And while my opinion has weakened on that movie, like I still kind of maintain it's not bad. It's still not great, and it's a kind of an insulting sequel.
Yeah, it is.
But I do like that ship, and Idris Elba's cool.
Sure is.
Also, I consider Prometheus to be more of a sequel to Blade Runner than I consider
Yeah,
a
because
sequel
the
to
robot stuff.
Well, because Tyrell's in canon in that movie.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's cool. I like the world building in that. Like, Waylon and Tyrell are like friendly rivals. And there's an email or whatever you would have an email be in that universe where
Laser mail.
yeah, where Waylon sends Tyrell a message where he's like, I've beaten you at your own game. Like when you meet my David, like you'll see how I've beaten you at your replicants. And you're like, that's fun. Like it's so nerdy and so very specific and has nothing to do with plot. I'm like, that's fun. I like that. I like that, and of course David is all like. It's funny. David as a character could have been in an apartment in like on Earth or in space. He would have had the same crisis of faith and everything. Like it would. It's very cool. I really like that character. There's a lot. That's the thing is that like there are some movie sequels that have really solid ideas or have really great executions. Jurassic Park 2. I think that like Steven Spielberg is obviously a very talented director. That movie's not great.
No.
And there's a lot of reasons for that, but it still has some great moments. So there you have it. Terrible movie sequels. We're back in business here on the Elseworlds Exchange. Joel, thank you so much for being here. And
a pleasure.
Of course, don't forget to check the description box below this video to go and subscribe to Cape Joel. You will do that, and you'll make him proud. Hey, anything happening on Cape Joel that you can look forward to sharing with our people at home?
Well, I'm trying to catch up on some of the comics I missed while I was away. I got Green Arrow #8 up. I got Superman #8 up.
Yeah.
I will be having the new All-Star Batman up later tonight, so be sure to keep your eyes peeled to the channel for that one. The Comic Multiverse will be coming back. We will be recording a special episode this Friday. Get that out nice and early to the patrons. If you're not a patron, that'll be going up the regular Wednesday time, so look for that there.
Nice. Here on ComicPOP, you can look forward to a brand new back issues, which was shot on location at New York Comic Con, starring none other than our own Cape Joel. So keep an eye out for that, and we'll see you guys next time. Of course, don't forget to like, subscribe, and all that jazz. And if you're listening to this on iTunes or SoundCloud, make sure to check us out over on YouTube at youtube.com/ComicPOP. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody, and we'll see you guys next time. So
Bye-bye.
long.